Good evening,
Good evening.
and everybody. Good evening to you out there, Plunkers, as Brother Ruben has dubbed you. Welcome to Plunk. This is the show where we celebrate two things, one city. My name is Emilio Buck, and joining me, as usual, my co-host, Miss Kristen Petit. How you doing, Kristen?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Feeling a little old, little got some aches going on randomly. Like I sprained my hand last night. I was changing my bedding and sprained my hand.
Wow. That's
Wow.
that's in one of those Hall of Fame type of injuries.
God, like the Hall of Shame. That's a
Right.
that's a Hall of Shame
You
type
sprained your
injury.
hand changing bedding. What kind
Changing
of
the
bedding?
sheet. It,
What
it
kind of
was
sheets you working with?
it was a fitted sheet. I mean, if that makes any difference, they could be tough, right? I don't know.
Sometimes you gotta pull them a little hard to
Thank you. And
get them over there, especially if you put them on like wrong. You went mute, Bucks. Can't hear you. Okay, well I'll talk. As he said, where you going? So, the betting can be difficult because sometimes you can't tell exactly which way it goes because they all look the same now. Like the size is even weird. So I could see maybe you hurt your hand pulling it a little too hard to get it over there, but well, we hope you feel better there, Emilio Bucks. And yeah, it's pretty easy to injure yourself the older you get as we so everything, a sneeze, cough, and it seems like the older you get, the more you get paper cuts, cardboard cuts. So yeah, getting old's a bitch. You're thankful that you're getting old, but whew, sometimes it's a little rough. So while Emilio Bucks is fixing his technical difficulties, we could talk a little bit about what we'll be talking about, and of course, we'll be talking about the Sox and a few nagging
yes,
injuries that we have going on. That kind of quiet, but you found out what they are because everyone's wondering, like, wait, these are important games. Why is a certain spark plug sitting? And then you found out, like, oh, that's why he's sitting. But when you first saw the line, you'd be like, wait a minute, now you need these games.
yeah.
They have a large lead, of course, in their division, but this is for home field advantage type, tiebreaker type game. So
I still need to win.
yeah, so
Still need to win these games. And then so it's one of those things you can't time injuries.
yeah, so I think
You
I think
know,
they said he'll be back tomorrow, maybe, hopefully.
let's hope.
It's
Or just sit him down for a while, make sure he's good.
yeah,
We already got Rodon. Getting some shoulder rest and
mm,
like you said, hope it's not too serious. Again, you just can't time those things out, and everybody deals with them. And you hope the timing is right when the playoffs start.
yeah, yeah, and you don't want him to trying to beat out a hit and hurt that leg even more. Whatever the leg soreness, we had the hamstring, I think, earlier in the year, right?
Correct. It was a
So,
hamstring early in the year.
so you hope that this leg soreness, these are like the hockey injury, lower body
Lower
soreness,
body injury.
right? Like, okay, there's a
Like
lot of
the
lower
the
body,
bottom half of his body is
right,
injured.
is
Like
injured.
like wait, what does that mean? Like I always
So,
thought that was interesting in hockey.
yeah, that they could. I bet you most sports wish that they could do that, so then
Yeah.
no one's pinpointing how serious it could or could not be. But
Or what to go after, you know
right,
what I mean, right?
but they had to get more specific. There's not as much betting in hockey, so they don't have to be as specific. But
I,
with the gambling, they have to be a little more specific of, this person has
I
a
guess
bad week.
interesting. That's interesting. I didn't think about how gambling plays a
Oh
part.
yeah, no one says that's what it is, but
Yeah, that's a very good point that I never thought of because honestly, I was always kind of like as far as the gambling, I was like, well, as long as you don't have players and coaches, shout out to Pete Rose, involved in gambling, you're fine, right? But like, yeah, if you're having to expose certain information to cater to the gambling crowd,
hmm
that's kind of funky.
yeah,
Can't
because
say I like that.
if it's just knee soreness, okay, the lines won't change for several days. But if you hear that now there's extra MRIs and all this, so now in the betting world, lines are going to change, things are going to happen because now you could be worried that this is going to be a long-term injury. So
Now, and I'm asking questions now. So, how does that affect hockey? Do they not bet in hockey?
may they probably do, but it's
I,
nothing
yeah, I don't
you
I don't hear like about it
yeah,
like the way you do other sports. No,
like you don't hear about the hockey fantasy. I'm sure there is that, but you don't hear about it's not like football fantasy. And they have to give their injury reports because people
very
have to pay
accurate.
their players. There's a lot of money in fantasy football and gambling. So I
Yeah.
guess they do gamble, but they probably gamble more when it comes time to the Stanley Cup and playoffs.
Oh, that's an interesting thing. We need to investigate that.
I need to find some gambling
Like,
experts.
why isn't there enough gambling in hockey?
Yeah.
Is it racial?
Always betting on black.
Right. Right. Nobody will bet on black. Or I don't know. I really don't know how to gamble, obviously. So
Neither do I.
I don't know. I've heard like Wesley Snipes in a movie, I think, say bet on black. And I guess that's good
I
sometimes.
know
I
that's
don't know.
from the roulette. You bet it on black. You can either
Okay.
choose a number like red
All
26,
right. Right. I'm going to just bet on black.
or you can just go with the color. Like I'm gonna put it all on black.
Okay. Look at you. All right, Christine. All right. I see.
And that is the extent of my gambling.
I know ponies is your game, so I know. Kristen likes the ponies, but
Well, hey, got to make my living somehow.
yeah, hey, I'm not mad at you. Hey, I'm not mad at you at all. Things are tough all over, as they say.
Yes,
They
'cause
stay tough all over. My hand.
Is it wrapped? Did you have to wrap your hand?
I should though. I
Oh,
haven't wrapped it, but like it hurts. Like I think I need a
you gonna need an
brace.
X-ray?
I kind of hope not. Like what?
But you probably should go get a brace because you use it a lot, and
Yeah,
you'll need to stabilize it while it
I
heals.
know, right? Like
See, I know about the ponies. I know about limbs and sprains and broken bones. I'm just like an all around expert on that.
that's Kristen is the expert on the ponies, barbecue. That's what you meant by limbs, I'm assuming,
I know.
and
Okay.
broken bone. You ain't. I thought you said limbs. You said
No, not
limbs.
limbs. I
Oh,
said
limbs.
limbs.
Oh, I thought you said limbs. I'm about to say, well, I know you know about some limbs. Shout out to Mr. Limb over and the good people at Limb's Barbecue on 75th. Dude, that reminds me. I haven't had any limbs in a while. Might be time.
Time for outlet.
Yeah, time for a little trip. But anyway, so yeah, I just again, Sox losing 2 or 3 to a possible team they were facing the playoffs, coming off of a good taking 3 out of 4
Mhm.
against Oakland. Shout out to my brother and sister-in-law, um, living from the Bay Area, who are A's fans. My brother-in-law called me to, you know, kind of try to stick it to me before going into that series. Um, I was a little hurt. Like, you know, Well, he lives there because his wife is from the area. His wife and her family are A's fans,
Mm,
and so since he lives there now, he's kind of adapted, like them
okay.
as his team, which is cool. But like, I don't know. I'm like, well, I mean, he knew me longer, like by about like 6 months, I think. He knew me longer than his wife. So I mean, but okay, fine. You gotta
Uh,
gotta keep your wife happy. Fine.
I think so.
No, I know about that. I know about that.
And then he
But
had nothing to say after the three losses, huh?
he did not. He just said, "Wow, you guys got a very good team." And of course, as usual, I was like, "Yeah." Like always that little shred of
Now you felt
uncertainty.
confident. Um, you felt confident after that Tampa when Tim Anderson tied it, and then they wound up winning it. Because I read your posts, and so some of your
I
posts
did.
there's like a lot of confidence, and then all of a
I
sudden
do.
they make
I I am. I have some sort of. I go back and forth. I split personality. I'm like, I don't know, manic depressive or something. I go back and forth
you
between.
refuse to be happy with the team. You refuse to embrace what is happening, the goodness that is happening on the South Side.
It's not just in baseball or sports either, Kristen.
Just like
It's just life. I have a hard time like accepting joy in things that I should. Always waiting for that
now,
that shoe to drop.
yeah,
Like, I can't keep my expectations low.
that's
Doesn't
right.
hurt as bad, uh, but that doesn't work either because it still like winds up hurting just as
Yeah,
much.
it does. It really
It
does.
really
And I think
does.
we all try that. Like, okay, yeah, I know they're gonna like it going back to sports. Yeah, I know they're gonna lose. Whatever, whatever. And then when they be thinking like, I'll be okay. I already knew they were gonna lose, but it hurts just as bad
It does hurt because you
because
were like,
also in the back of your mind, like they could win though.
they
Maybe
really
if I maybe they'll do the opposite of what I'm
of what
hoping.
I want because
Yeah,
that's what usually happens.
right. Because
What
I
I
have
want,
some sort of power. Me, only me. They go by my thoughts.
right? And they said we're going to prove him wrong.
Yes. And that is what all fans go through. Like
Yeah.
they go through their superstitions. Like,
Yes.
oh my God, if I don't wear this shirt again. And because I did it during the Cubs playoff with
Yes.
the World Series year when they were playing the Dodgers. I wore this one shirt and they lost. And matter of fact, Tiffany, my father, they were coming over to my house and they lost. And so then I wore a different shirt and we went over to my father's house and watched and they won. So I had to keep wearing that shirt and we no longer came to my house to watch the game.
And
And
what
they,
happened?
they won. They won.
Proof enough for me.
Yes,
Sounds like science to me.
right, exactly. I mean, I have the power.
Science. But
I
science.
alone have the
There's no need to
power.
argue with
No,
science.
no, it
It
is.
was the shirt and the location.
That's right.
Those are
Yep.
facts, as they say. Facts, people.
Facts.
So, I'm just trying to hold on. You know what I mean? I like they got the goods. Um, we had a situation the other night. Tony misused Kimbrel. I kind of thought he's been misusing that all year. Like I mentioned last week, not completely sold on the eighth, ninth Kimbrel Hendricks thing.
I don't think it's almost like they don't. He doesn't, and the pitching, the coaches don't really know what they should do. They're testing
Yeah,
it out, but why you pull Kimber when he had gotten 2 outs?
like hasn't he earned enough respect? Just what he's
Yeah.
done this season to
Mm-hmm.
like, but I guess Tony admitting to his error
Mm-hmm.
was that's a good step as opposed
Yeah.
to I didn't even know Kimber was in the game. Like what? Like which was kind of what we probably would have heard early in the season. I had no idea Kimber was even in the game.
I had no idea I was able to pull.
Right, right. I thought he had to. I thought it was like
I thought the rule was they have to leave after 3 bats. I'm
right,
sorry.
right. But I think Tony's kind of gotten it together. He's got some people in his ear who are,
Yeah.
leading him along the right path. So we hope. So like, we got some teams that hopefully we can get some wins against coming up this week, and we'll talk about the upcoming week a little bit later.
Oh.
But if we could switch sides of town, some news, some more drama in Wrigleyville, some more Ricketts drama.
These
Like they are
terrible.
they're terrible. Like what's
It's always been loving the Cubs in spite of them.
yeah.
It's never loving the Ricketts. It was
No.
okay. They were better than the other, but they're still bad.
Yeah.
It's just, you got, okay, so you got Laura, who's, she has to fight her own family because she's a member of the LGBTQ community, right? And so she was for Obama and everything like that. So, and you know how her father and her brothers are.
Mm-hmm.
They're all Republicans. They donated. At first, they went against Trump. But then once Trump got the nomination, then they started pouring all their stuff into Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that. We know the brother that's the governor, I believe, in Nebraska, he is against, everyone should have their own decisions and choices and masking, vaccines, critical race theory. He's against
It's not to be taught.
Yes, not to be taught. There's too many people coming to this border. They're all like that people. So I say all that to say, they've also had people who've been admittedly involved in steroids, part of their organization. People running the team who also had people that they knew were part of steroids, admittedly, part of the organization. They've had people who have abused their significant others, brought one in, even though the case was dropped. Then another one kept him there for a whole year to help him and his family out. And so they have all these things that they've done, but where they draw that line in morality is
so they're just Republicans, basically.
Yeah, but they draw the line like we won't stand for Sammy Sosa. So they get this. They dedicate. They honor themselves, the Ricketts family, when they do this rededication of Wrigley Field. They give themselves a plaque because they did some of the stuff they said they were going to do. They brought a World Series. They put in money. They tried to get money from the city, but then when their father sent out all those racist emails, well, Emmanuel said no, that ain't happening. Because one of the things they were also questioning Obama and his birth certificate and all that. That's what the daddy was doing, and he's the one who put up all the money for it or sold stocks or whatever. So then they get this Cubs Hall of Fame, and it's the inaugural. But tell me why your home run leader isn't part of your inaugural Hall of Fame plaques. You give one to Harry Carey, who had some controversy.
Known drunk.
And I like Harry Carey.
I love Harry. Yeah. He was entertaining.
Yeah, I love him. Yeah, not more than like. I love Harry Carey. Then you give one to Ron Santo, who was not well liked until he got older. Mm-hmm. He was known as a jerk. But you give him one and you loved him.
You gave him some legs.
Yes.
And
Ron Santo his legs.
Oh,
you do all that.
I'm just saying they gave him Cubs legs. I mean,
so you have all these people who are Cubs legends and icons and all that kind of stuff. But Sammy Sosa is not part of your Hall of Fame. You won't even invite the man back in. You have had Carlos Zambrano, who we know who
is an awful human being.
I mean, people loved him, but
I loved him for the team.
Yeah, no, even some teammates loved him. But
as a person,
for the same reason when they say a lot of teammates didn't like what Sammy did or whatever, did they always like what Carlos did? But he's brought back and he's welcome with open arms. So I just don't understand this. They say Sammy has to apologize for what? Okay. They say his name is on the list. There's 103, 104 people on that list that they will not release. we've only heard 4 or 5 names. Well, like most people, like even Paul Kernockel said, till you tell me all the names or I see it personally, I don't care about that list.
Right.
You only release who you want to release.
Who you decide to smear.
Exactly. But there's 100 other people on there that no one knows about. They've been able to keep the other 100 quiet. But Ortiz, Sammy, I think A-Rod, Bonds, and maybe Clemens. I don't remember who the 5th person was or whatever. But then let's go back to Bonds has been welcomed back by his team.
And also an awful individual.
Exactly. Personality was not good.
Awful person.
Mark McGwire was welcomed back by his team and coached on another team.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Rodriguez faces Sunday Night Baseball.
Terrible.
Manny Ramirez got a job with the Cubs. This is the man who didn't know what was going on half the time when he was on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Great hitter,
mm-hmm.
but it was always Manny being Manny.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, these other players who have been, Roger Clemens, I believe he coached someplace, he's welcome back. There were rumors about Jeff Bagwell, Craig Biggio, Ivan Rodriguez. There's been so many rumors, so many other people.
Yeah. Josh Hamilton and all these guys.
They're all welcomed back by their team. And the only reason why Alex Rodriguez and Manny Ramirez and those others apologize is because there was concrete proof that they did it. And Alex did it twice. I believe Manny might have gotten caught twice. Mm-hmm. So they had no choice but to apologize. Otherwise, they were never apologizing. But so my whole issue, it's shameful that Sosa's not part of the inaugural Hall of Fame. Now, maybe they're planning something because, number one, they're going to lose fans next year because this garbage they have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe they have some big plans of, we're going to welcome Sammy back and give him his plaque. That's what they really need to do.
They need to let him throw out the first pitch.
Yes, because
you know what I mean? Like, make a big deal of it.
Exactly. Yeah. It needs to be a Sammy Sosa day.
Uh-huh.
He was in the 90s, early 2000s. He's the reason why Ricketts, you guys were able to buy this team, and it was a moneymaker. Mm-hmm. He's what brought fans back to the game of baseball, period.
Yes. He and McGwire, that home run chase of 98, that brought fans back to the game.
Yeah, and
it brought new fans to the game.
Exactly. And some people are like, well, so did who's the guy who had them on the Orioles had the streak? Cal Ripken Jr.
Cal Ripken Jr.
It's not the same. Yeah,
but a streak is boring. That's not
exactly.
All due respect to Cal Ripken Jr. Of course, I always like Cal, but a streak is great.
A streak
that's not a long ball.
Broken. Yeah, that streak will never be broken. But they weren't ringing bells in the middle of a newscast saying, we got another home run. People weren't, women who never paid any attention to baseball, like, oh, Sammy and Mark hit one.
What they say, chicks dig the long ball. I think that was in the commercial.
And Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine made a commercial about that.
Mm-hmm. That was real. Major League Baseball marketed that.
Yes. And they knew what was going on. And sometimes they try to act like Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were the only ones and they were the originators of the steroids. That's another thing. When you hear people talk about it, like they weren't the only ones. They weren't the ones who started it.
They definitely weren't the first.
No. I mean, it'd been happening years before with the Camerini or whatever his name is. King Camerini, I think.
King Camerini, yeah. He died, didn't he?
And he was before them, and there were rumors that he was. So, I mean, and then there was Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco.
Mm-hmm.
But
Bash Brothers.
Yes, and Bitter Jose, who helped bring down all of this stuff and still isn't beloved.
Still isn't beloved. Then he shot his own finger off.
Yes, the guy just has issues.
Yeah,
but back to Sammy and the shamefulness that is the Cubs and the Ricketts family. The fact that this is where you're drawing your line of morality. Oh, he used steroids and he won't apologize. You're not welcome back here. When fans continuously ask them at every fan convention, radio personalities, even some who didn't even care that much for Sam are like, it's time. I mean, this man is the reason why so many of us watch this game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
For a lot of years.
for a lot of years. And the fact
Yeah.
that you won't bring this man back, you won't bring him back to the family where he would still draw a crowd.
Mm-hmm.
People still love him. You know, the loudest talkers of the radio are saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna boo him." Okay, so that's 20 people out of the 40,000 that
Yeah.
are gonna be there.
And they'll say that until everybody else cheers, and then
Exactly.
they're full of what.
Who
So let
else?
me ask you this,
Oh, go ahead.
like, and we spoke about this, was it the last show or the show before, how this is still like, there's still that uh, kind of that elder, white male influence over the game of baseball still. So, like, with that being said, like, is it possible, or do you think that there are other decision makers or other people at play that dictate whether the Ricketts bring Sammy into the fold or not? As kind of like, well, yeah, we would like to, but like, we still got to fall in line with, you know, the MLB and the old school regime of the MLB. Even as owners, we still have to kind of toe the line a bit. Do you think that that might be a part of it? Almost like, is he blacklisted by the MLB until he comes clean, and then the Ricketts are free to celebrate him? Do you think there's any part of that?
Well, maybe that is part of it. I would say that more if others, but then again, like you said, the other people admitted kind of that they did something.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'm not sure if Roger Clemens has ever admitted anything.
I don't
And
know, but how involved is he? Like, I don't know.
I think
Like,
he coached and he gets I think they celebrate him at
mm-hmm.
Houston games.
Okay.
I think he's celebrated by teams, maybe not overall. Like, Barry Bonds really isn't celebrated by overall baseball, so they may
Mm-hmm.
also be blackballed by the MLB.
Mm-hmm.
But their teams have brought them back, and Mark McGuire got a job with the Dodgers, I believe,
Right.
at one point.
Wasn't he working with the Cardinals at one point too?
Yes, and so he gets brought back in by his team. Now they may, except for Alex Rodriguez, who did it twice, was they thought he was going to be blackballed for a little bit, but now he announces, and not that well, ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, and he's like this golden boy, and people love him now. So
And he dated, Jenny from the Bronx.
right,
I
and
think
he
there was something to that.
it might be
It
there.
was, there was, something about that.
You might be right for the MLB thing. Excuse me, but other teams brought in their players, and maybe it does have all has to do with saying I'm sorry. But if I'm Sam, if you're anyone, if no one has come with concrete proof that you've done something, why would you admit to it? Like,
To take away that a little bit more stink off the MLB, as like
and then
to take the blame more for what
exactly,
everybody knows the MLB was involved in.
exactly. But see, later,
So it only matters really for the big stars to
yeah,
get thrown under the bus. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Nobody cares about, Gary Matthews Jr. or
right,
Josh Hamilton or AJ Przinsky blew up and
oh, yeah.
all sorts of people. You know what I mean? But
Because when you look back at old Jim Tomey and then later Jim Tomey,
yeah, but
but they love him.
Jim Tomey, he's a good old boy. He plays
Yeah.
the game.
And
Like, figuratively,
yeah.
he played the game. He's
Yeah.
well loved here
Yes.
by the Sox organization, well loved here in the state of Illinois. He's from Peoria.
Mhm. And
Like,
there's always been questions about Albert Pujols, but he's so loved that people kind of skip over that
mm-hmm.
there's a chance he did as well. Just because he said no and I'll take a test, Number one, they know you're not getting ready to take a test because
Mm-hmm.
your players association is not going to allow it.
Won't
So
let
they
you.
keep saying that. Yeah, Sammy said the same thing. I'll take a test. I've never failed a test, and then he came out on that list. So it's just they pick and choose. I guess after a while they couldn't get everybody in trouble because then it was
Mm-hmm.
gonna be like, oh Lord, now all of our stars, all of our faces
Right.
are part of this. So they kind of started leaving people alone because Ivan Rodriguez, he went from this little thing to this big thing and back down to a very little thing. And people were
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, okay, something's
Mm-hmm.
not right here. But there were just whispers, and then that was it.
A lot of people slim down.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. That
when
was
this, when this
when
thing,
things started
yeah,
happening. You saw a lot of, but
a lot
then
of
there
guys.
were people slim and trim like Luis Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there were some
Mm-hmm.
people who never even got big. They just
And Clemens was already kind of a husky guy
yeah,
anyway, so you couldn't really,
yeah.
quite tell.
So I think some people didn't even use it and bulk up. It was just
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Or
But
whatever.
I just, to me, at this point, why do you need the Ricketts? What is it about you? Why do you feel so high on yourself? You feel so much importance that this man has to come out in the public. Like, why do you want to shame him? Why do you want to embarrass him to then hug him and bring him in? Like that
Right.
doesn't make any sense.
Right.
You get out here and you publicly apologize. Now we're gonna bring back everything that you did,
Mm-hmm.
and all the story's gonna be about you being this bad, blah 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 blah. And then we're like, oh, come here, poo poo. No, like why? like why is that the way you feel you need to do it? You need to you need to down this man, this
And
black man,
that's
and you need to turn him into this enemy first, and then now it's now that we feel okay about it, we decide now, okay, you're okay now that you've been shamed
that's
publicly.
why I question, like, a family like the Ricketts. They're ultimate capitalists,
Mm-hmm.
and so for them to say no, we're not allowing Sammy in when it could make them a lot of money, among other things. It's just, and I'm not defending the Ricketts at all, because there's, you just went through a whole list of terrible attributes to the family outside of this, but it just stinks of something bigger, like, a conspiracy, or, like something possibly out of their control.
And
Uh,
maybe it is, and they need to, like anyone else, they need to let it leak.
hmm
If this is true, because everyone lets everything leak.
Yeah,
uh
there's a way
if
to leak everything.
exactly, if you want people off your backs, and that is the problem, because now people will start going after MLB, because how dare MLB have any type of, oh well, morality and morals and all that. Come on
Oh my
now.
God, they are.
They-
MLB is so high up on their high horse.
yes,
I
and
mean,
so,
it
and
is
how dare,
ridiculous.
if it is coming from them or someone higher up, shame on them, because they are so terrible with what they've done and what their past
Yes.
and their present, and
And
still
the people
have
that
this.
they continuously celebrate.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, even celebrating the Field of Dreams movie with those teams and those players that were on those old Yankees and stuff, like known terrible womanizers,
Yep.
racists, just
Yep.
terrible people. And they continue. MLB continues to celebrate its past, regardless of what we now know about those people. They
Mm-hmm.
continue to celebrate their past, and then wonder why they can't draw new markets, because they won't celebrate the current players.
Right,
They're up on their high horse about the current players.
and then they celebrate the past, but they want to act like that era that is called the steroid era didn't exist. Well, then you need to, if you need to take out a bunch of eras then. If you want to talk
True.
about stuff that bad that was happening, because there's
Mm-hmm.
been uppers in baseball forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like they said, it was like a candy dish,
Mm-hmm.
and people took them, and then they finally took those away. But you want to keep celebrating your past, but you want to act like the past of Sammy and Mark McGuire didn't even happen.
It's
You
so
know how
dirty.
long it took the Cubs to actually start even showing highlights of Sammy again? Like
Mm.
they acted like he didn't even exist, and then all of a sudden Marquis started showing things, and fans were like, "Oh wow, so Sammy really does exist." Oh, okay,
He
they're
is
bringing
in the
back.
Cubs history book.
Right. They're showing his 66 home run, which was an exciting time in baseball.
Very.
And they want to ignore that. And then they want to ignore the exciting players that are happening now, but they want to keep celebrating baseball that used to be America's pastime. It's not anymore. And it's their
Hasn't
fault that
been.
it's not anymore.
Hasn't been in years.
Yeah, and it's their fault, and they keep letting people do things like whatever is happening with the Cubs and Sosa, and probably even more people that we don't know about. But he's just the one that sticks out because he was probably one of your biggest stars.
He was what he was. He definitely was.
You all want to keep pushing boring Ryan Sandberg, and I love Andre Dawson, but he's boring. Like you want to keep
Mm-hmm.
pushing all these other people out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love the Hawk, but he had a moment. It
Yeah,
was
they
not a
did.
Sammy Sosa
It was
thing.
not the years, the
We're talking about
iconic
years
years.
of
Like even at least Ryan Sandberg had years.
years,
Okay, there were years of, so yes, he's Sosa had years, but
years of yeah.
of dominance, and the reason why anyone even paid attention to the Cubs. So I just continue to say shame on you, Ricketts. Shame on you, Cubs. Shame on who is blackballing this man from being celebrated by Cubs and their fans. There
Yeah,
are more fans that want to celebrate them than there are fans who do not.
by far, and shame
Yeah,
on the MLB.
exactly.
Shame on the
Whoever
MLB.
whoever is acting like people in during that time did not exist that helped you still even be in business right now,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to pretend like they don't exist, and then those type of that showmanship is what is happening now today. So you still want to not even be involved in showmanship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
What
because
other player?
you trade Javi Baez away. You like
Yeah, it's
that
like
that was your show.
yes, and so you see, remember Sosa used to hop, and so you see people
Mm-hmm.
still do some hops now.
Mm-hmm.
They celebrate when they get the dugout. That
I
showmanship.
mean, and you see
People
and you look at what we have on the South Side now, and you see guys like Tim Anderson. You know what I mean? Like bring that flair to the game because it was. I mean, and they're still fighting it. The
yeah, that's
old
what I'm saying.
regime are still fighting
And it's
fun
yeah,
in
and it's
baseball.
for me. I like a balance of both. A couple,
Absolutely.
has some Bryants and has some Baez.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice combination of both. When you have the other people going crazy because like a Bryant or I don't know on the Sox who doesn't like Abreu really doesn't show
Mm-hmm.
that much emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he'll get
No.
excited, but he doesn't show the same as like an
Mm-hmm.
Anderson. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's good. And so then you have when Abreu does something, okay, he has all those other players going crazy for him.
Yeah. I mean, it's a balance, like you just said.
Yeah.
It's a balance.
But to act like there's something wrong with wanting to have fun because they're playing a child's game and everyone involved is getting paid well, from the writers, from the announcers, from the owners. I mean, people working in the stadium don't get paid
Mm-hmm.
well,
Mm-hmm.
but to talk
Mm-hmm.
about it on radio, you get paid very well to be involved with a child's game.
I mean, we got
Children
plunked
have
and
fun.
we're paid. Wait, okay, not us, but a lot of other people are making a lot of money.
Making a lot of money off of this
Yeah,
child's game.
yeah.
And what do kids love to do? Have fun,
And
celebrate.
smile and celebrate and
So,
high five and
so
jump
this is a
around.
child's game, so it should be
Yeah,
celebrated in that
yeah.
way.
And those are the players that we gravitate towards the most. Like when we see a guy like Tim Anderson or Javi, like looking like a kid, like they're really just enjoying the game. It's like you love that because you're like, yeah, that's it's a game. You're supposed to
Yeah.
enjoy it. Like, and
I
there's
don't
nothing wrong with
really,
taking it serious. I mean, it
yeah.
doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to be all smiles and jumping
But
around and high
even the ones
five.
who take it serious, they will smile. Hey, thank you. Bias provides spark. That's my guy.
All right.
Like for example, I can't give you any current examples on the Cubs. Like to me, Wilson Contreras plays hard, but he's more of an angry. Like he's not fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't really, I don't need that type of. I like his energy, but he always looks mad.
He's
But
kind of
like,
like a Russell Westbrook type of.
yeah,
Well, you
right.
like his play, but it's like, oh, okay,
Right. Why are you so
okay,
mad?
right, yeah,
But
well,
like even I know Chris Bryant made some comments about how no one where he is flashy and they just play and things like that. But he also had fun with the flashy people and he smiled and things like that.
hmm
But that's not his personality to, you know, as what people used to say, pimp a home run. Although he
hmm
did do a little hop. He didn't
hmm
always just run exactly to home to run to first base after he had a home run.
hmm
So they're playing a child's game. It's supposed to be a fun game. It's supposed to celebrate your wins. It's supposed to be about your team, bringing your team along, having your teams back. But you're not allowing any of this. You just want people to sit there
right.
and that's it. Like
Because the Kentucky
that's
Derby,
yeah, that's not how you play a kid's game.
and just from a business standpoint, like you can't market it. You can't market a game that is people already think baseball's boring.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then you're like, I mean, even the NFL when they were trying to say, okay, no end zone celebrations, and then they realized the mistake they made, and they were like, oh yeah, do routines in the end zone now.
Yeah. You
Now,
just
guys,
you
yeah,
can't taunt people, and
yeah,
that is different. Like,
that's different.
and that's the only
That's
thing
different.
different. But I think didn't they? There are some excessive celebrations that they're taking out again or something. I saw Warren Sapp saying this isn't a league he wants to be a part of, the no fun league. But
Well, yeah, I mean that's what they were calling it, when they were really
yeah,
coming down on them about the end zone stuff. But then they kind of like let up off of
you
that and
got
let,
to
yeah,
because people and it's fun.
yeah.
It's what they show on all the sports
I mean,
shows.
end zone celebrations. How you gonna take away end zone celebrations? Like,
Exactly. And
like,
and every team tries to outdo the next one with their newest routine.
yeah, I love it. I enjoy
Either
it.
they're
You know what I mean?
whether they're doing a Temptations routine like the
hmm
Bears did one year.
Or send somebody to do a new edition routine, kind of.
Yes, someone
Oh,
did a
right,
rowing thing where they were all on the boat and they
right,
were all rowing in the same direction.
right.
You know, it's those are fun and
Yeah,
it's okay, and it's the team doing it. And if you say they wanted to stop because it's supposed to be a team game, okay, that's an entire team coming together on a choreographed celebration.
they practiced this.
Exactly.
They took extra time after
Now they may
practice.
not practice their tackles, but they can get that
Good
temptation routine
lord, good
down.
lord. Well, that's another topic. You know, it's just always this uphill battle with MLB and trying to get more fans to watch. Um, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. You know what I mean? Like, hopefully time will wash out some of the old staleness and bring in newer blood.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
need to
know.
hire. They're doing it in some, but they need to do it in the corporate office. Like
hmm
teams are hiring more women, younger people. And
hmm
I'm not saying every young person is good for baseball either, because there are some
No.
young people who are just as stale or
hmm
even more stale than the older people.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
it just even just getting a balance of some stale folks who can keep a level head thing and some pie in the sky people. Like
Yeah.
you got to think of different ways, and if that's having getting some a musical artist, even
Like
if you got
even
a Drake, everybody
even
look
exactly. Even though I wasn't like I'm not a Drake fan per se, but it was genius for Toronto to pull him in as an ambassador.
Yep.
And it created like this extra story around the game, you know what I mean? Which was
Mhm.
entertaining. It added to it, especially for the younger audience.
Yes.
You know what I
And
mean?
so and like Drake is kind of a cleaner rapper of some of the other young. So you're not
Absolutely.
gonna.
Absolutely.
So he's like the safest one. He's a safer one.
He's
Not
very light
everything.
skinned. He's very light skinned.
Yeah. Not every rap he talks about is good, but it's a
No.
little safer than some of the other people.
But he's crossed over by far
Yeah.
enough,
Yeah.
that he is a safe
Yeah,
rapper.
he's
You know
safe.
what I mean? Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, like, when they're even doing commercials for NBA and NFL, it's to a song. And it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
always have to be a rapper.
Mm-hmm.
If you want Taylor Swift because you want to get some more women involved,
Fine.
get Taylor Swift,
Fine.
get Beyonce. Beyonce,
Fine.
Houston, Astros get like whoever's
Fine.
hot. If you want some country, Kane Brown, isn't he hot?
Yep.
Him
Absolutely.
involved. Like you need to get the hot people involved with your game.
Mm-hmm. They need to branch out into pop culture if they want numbers, if they want viewership, new viewership, young, diverse viewership. They need to reach, but that makes me question the MLB again. Do they even care? Do the guys that are still up there involved? Do they care about having diversity or anything like that? I would say
You're right.
they usually don't.
Yeah, they still don't have the right people. Like
Yeah.
MLB, you can call Plunked. We will join your
Yeah.
team. And
Yeah. Absolutely.
give us a call.
We got you.
You can find us on Instagram,
Can you?
Twitter.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Find us individually, if nothing else.
I'm here, right here.
MLB, we got some answers for you. Contact us.
Seriously,
Teams,
they
calls,
definitely need.
Ricketts.
Yeah.
Oh,
So and that's another thing. It's like everybody knows, every businessman knows. Like, okay, you are who you are. You're this age. You're this race. You're this political affiliation, whatever. But you want something different in yourself. Yeah, you pay an advisor.
Yep.
That's a no brainer. Everybody knows that. That's what you get advisors for. Like consultants. Like somebody who can bring a kind of a different perspective. But the fact that they're not doing that. That's what leads me to believe like they're okay with the way things are. We hear them say they want more viewership, but do they?
They still don't have. You're right, because they still don't have the right people in place.
Exactly.
They have someone talking the talk, but they don't have the people in place to walk the walk. When the playoffs come, they do some little cooler stuff on Fox 32 and whatever for their intros. But it needs to be year round.
It can't just be the playoffs.
People,
you don't have people. You don't have people who. Oh, I only really watch baseball during the playoffs. Like
no.
There's nobody who's like that. If you're watching playoff baseball, it's because you watch baseball all year. It's not like the Super Bowl or the NFL playoffs where you have these parties. There's people who haven't watched the game all year, but it's the playoffs. It's the Super Bowl, of course. You know what I mean? Like people aren't clamoring to the TV to watch the ALCS. Just because it's the ALCS, who haven't been watching baseball normally. It's not that type of affair. There is not that type of attraction, and they have done a poor job of marketing. I mean, I can just say it over and over again. They continuously do a poor job of marketing.
Like now, the Cubs don't have anyone to pull unless you pull Wilson or Kyle Hendricks. But every other team, and maybe the Pirates don't, and the Texas Rangers don't. Okay, every other team but the losers, they have somebody on there, 1 to 2 players that they can pull from each team to be their face and to be part of some fun campaign that gets people excited.
I mean, and up until 2-3 weeks ago, the Cubs had plenty of faces.
Well, yeah.
But
now, I
feel you. Like you saw that Field of Dreams. So let me ask you.
Oh my gosh,
Let
I'm
me-
so embarrassed.
So the announcement was made. Field of Dreams game. It was a success. So it's going
Yeah,
to be every year thing now.
two good teams.
Now we have the Chicago Cubs and the Cincinnati Red Stockings, or whatever.
Only
Reds.
thing, the only good thing about that is maybe the Cubs will have be forced to do something because MLB can't have two loser teams. Now the Reds, they just can't get people. Like they'll do all right for a minute. I mean, they're better than the Cubs, but still.
Oh,
So
right
you want to have
now
the,
by
yeah, you want to have
default.
the third and fourth place teams in a terrible Central Division.
Yeah.
Like, okay, and then you couldn't even pick the Cubs and the Dodgers.
It should have been Cubs and the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Dodgers, yeah.
The Dodgers of Brooklyn
Okay.
would have been, or if you need two contending teams, the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Baseball
Yeah,
Giants.
yeah.
Something like that. Two good teams in the NL.
Especially because they know the Cubs are bad right now. Now they made this decision, and they know the Cubs are bad, and they know the Reds aren't good.
They made it right after the trade.
Right. My thing is, if you wanted to, even if you wanted to have some fun, you couldn't include the Cubs. Like maybe if you had the Cubs with still with people on it, it could have been the Cubs and Sox in the Field of Dreams. That would have been great. Good Cubs, not these Cubs.
Right. I mean, I understand. I believe probably logistics played a part in it. And okay, we need to have this one game here that's a part of a series, but then they need to be able to get back to somebody's stadium to finish the series. And I guess logistically speaking, if you're in Iowa, the closest place to easily get back to is Chicago.
And then you also know they have the Iowa Cubs. So that's probably, but you can't choose these Cubs. You have to wait.
Exactly.
Nobody is going to watch Schwindel, Wisdom.
He's on the Wisdom and half a Contreras.
And half Ortega.
Well, I would have been okay with the Cubs, even this Cubs teams, but you needed another.
Somebody, it couldn't be the Reds.
It needed the Reds because the Reds is not a marquee team.
Yeah, it would have been better Cubs Cardinals in there.
Cubs Cardinals.
And that doesn't matter how good or bad the teams are. The fans don't like each other, so it was going to be.
You would have gotten that.
Yes, and that would have been that would have been a. But nobody, I don't know who paid. There had to have been some money switching hands. Because there's no way you choose these two teams.
The Reds?
The Reds, never.
And again, even with this Cubs team, even if, lo and behold, we're looking at the same Cubs team next July or whatever, I can understand still.
Yeah, you can.
Because it is, the Chicago Cubs are a marquee franchise. Win, lose, or draw. I mean, even before the World Series, you obviously noticed the Cubs are part of the United States pop culture. They are a draw. They are a marquee team, no matter what. So, at the end of the day, I get it. I get the Cubs being there. I'm fine with that. But make it an interleague. Make it Cubs, Red Sox. You
also could have. It also could have been something similar to like a tournament. The winner of the previous year was always at the Field of Dreams
until somebody knocked them out.
Right, it could have been Cubs Sox, and whoever won, then it could have been done like that. Like the winner Kristen always returns to the Field of Dreams game.
That would have been good.
MLB contact Plunked. We got your
We got all the answers. We have all of the answers.
We have all the answers for you.
I'm gonna need a check, but we have the answers.
We're not doing it for free.
We're not doing it for free.
We do this. We're not doing that for free.
And I'm just getting away.
And I want to be paid handsome.
Yeah, handsome.
Yeah, they could even, because then that's always the anticipation, and that's like another reason to go for, to make sure you're playing hard to win because you want to come back next year.
It's a national game. Everybody's tuning in.
Right. And it could be like how they have each like interleague when it's within the city. I think they have cups. Like there's the Crosstown Cup,
Right.
and it could have been a Field of Dreams champion and blah. MLB is holding a line one. Okay, I wish they would, but like it could. Like they could even take, even though it is celebrating a bad past, they could take this to a whole nother level of Field of Dreams. But they're not going to do it because this one was so successful. But like you say, if you choose the Cubs, okay, because people from Iowa come to Wrigley Field. There's the Iowa Cubs. Okay, we got it. They're terrible, but we got it. They hung up, of course.
They hung up.
We're making too much sense, Debbie. That's why you hung up. But like
thanks anyways, Deb.
Right, thanks for trying for us, Debbie. Because you would have got a cut as our agent.
You definitely would have. You definitely would have. And then we'd have made sure we'd had the Mets out here.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the Mets would have been. They could have had Yankees.
Celebrate certain, like what was it? Was it the '68 Mets? What were the historic Mets? That
was 69. Isn't that
was the '69 Mets
over the Cubs?
Well,
like when the Cubs fell.
Wasn't that the Black Cat game and all of that? Yeah.
When the Cubs were leading, and all of a sudden,
the Black Cat game. Some real Cubs stuff.
Well,
69 Mets. Like that's the team. You celebrate that. Like specific teams. Like the Reds don't have any.
I mean, they had the red machine.
It's true. The big red machine.
But no one cares about that.
Nobody cares about the big red.
Unless you're in Cincinnati.
Do a major league. Bring Cleveland out.
Yeah, you could do a whole major league thing.
Have Tom Berenger or Charlie Sheen throw out the first wild thing. Bring Wild Thing back.
They could do movie themes every year. They could have a Ferris Bueller game.
Yes.
Of course, they have the Black
Major League game would be my favorite.
Yes, that would be great. The Major League and
God, that would be awesome.
Have, make sure all the guys up there playing the drum. I mean, it can't be the Indians anymore because whatever, I forgot what their name's going to be.
It's
not Generals, is it?
No, it's the Cleveland. It's the name of their AAA or AA affiliate. Not the Enforcers, but the something.
Major League would be great. Especially
Major League would be great.
How they brought out Kevin Costner.
If you bring out Charlie Sheen's old crack ass out, like to throw out the first.
I don't know. He's had too many problems. They may not bring him up.
I don't know what kind of condition he's in.
Yeah, they could find what's his. I mean, he is in that commercial for what is it? It's the pharmacy thing, Single Care Dad or something.
Okay.
Charlie Sheen makes his acting. He makes his comeback.
That would be great. I would love that.
That would be great. Major League.
My favorite baseball movie of all time.
That is a good movie.
All right. Well, that's good stuff. So I mean, I wow, we would be great advisors to MLB. They really should reach out to us.
They really should. So
really should. We're gonna work on that.
Any of our plunkers know somebody? Get this video.
Plunkers. Let's take this national. Let's take this thing national. We'll have Deb on our team. She'll be working with us, and
I think T Nick says something. We'll bring folks along. So don't
we'll bring everybody. We'll bring all the right people along. We got Brother Ruben. The food connoisseur. He'll continue the stadium eats.
It's we could help the Miracle Mets of '69. Yes. And they could play, and they should play the Cubs because that's
of course. That would have been a great if you're going to do the Cubs and bring the Mets and celebrate that '69. Throw a cat out onto the field and everything.
Well, and then they had so much to talk about because they would just keep reliving that historic collapse.
That makes it fun. So I like the Field of Dreams game, but I still don't want it to just stay like Field of Dreams. I want some other references brought up too, like more modern,
they can't keep doing it because how much they talked about it all. Like there's nothing else really to talk about after they had Kevin Costner. They went through if you build it, they will come.
Right.
They did all that. So,
right. You can't do that every year.
No. So now they have to make sure Like we just got, they may have to make sure they bring in teams with some sort of history. So if the game is all about being a throwback, you need to make sure you put in teams that have a history, so you can always throw it back to
Mm-hmm.
whatever that history is.
Mm-hmm.
Both teams could be wearing their '69 uniforms. I don't know if
Yeah.
they're the same. I don't know all that.
Whatever it is, yeah. Like, oh,
But
I
like,
mean, oh, that, or the, the Pirates. I mean, they're
yeah,
terrible, but you bring back the Willie Stargell, celebrate the Willie
yeah,
Stargell Pirates, or
yeah. So
there's these teams that had these moments and these movements that were very popular. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and celebrate those things. But that would make it fun. But you know, we'll see what happens. We're going to get on that. Plunk's going to go national at some point. Let's put it out there. So,
yeah,
but before we wrap, just taking a quick look at what's on the horizon for this upcoming week. The Sox have a tough one in Toronto, at Toronto. We got a 4-game set. Um, you know, just hoping, we need to just at the very least split these series at this point. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm not against resting certain guys. I'm also convinced that, like, if I'm Tony La Russa, Dallas Keuchel does not get a start in the playoffs unless we're up 3-0. Just saying that. But,
yeah.
um,
This
um,
be the weak link, right?
yeah. I mean, him. I mean, I think I
I
might go
guess
with Dylan Cease before I go with Keuchel, to be honest. But so we got a 4-game set at Toronto. We're looking at Lynn, Cease, Giolito, and Keuchel. Um, you know, so we'll just kind of hope for the best. We're still trying to
Giolito
lock it.
and Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
They gotta win.
Got it. We got to lock in those two. Yeah, absolutely. And then we got the Cubbies getting on the red line coming out south to the cell to Sox Park for a 3-game set over the next weekend. Um,
Mm.
so hopefully the Cubs will throw us some favors and won't try to play too hard.
Don't you worry. They have no choice. They lost their 13th in a row at home.
Whew,
They're just terrible.
whew. That's just like,
And they just
how do you become historic? How do you become historically bad for the Cubs?
it's I mean, and there have been some lean years, but this
Many.
is like, oh well, don't worry, in the what we have in the minor leagues, it's still only the 25th ranked minor leagues. Big deal. How many teams are there in the MLB? 32?
Yeah.
And then these players are 2-3 years away. So I'm
Yeah.
supposed to just be happy with this garbage? Come on now.
Yeah, I don't know.
The
So now
fans.
I want to ask something, because somebody shout out to Jose. Jose, my gentleman I work with, he said something interesting, because we've heard some pundits say, "Oh, the Cubs, they won too early." Right? Have you heard that? Like, they maxed out too early, whatever. And he says, well, there might be some truth to that, in that when you look at some of the young guys, like your Bryants and your Baez and Addison Russells, and a lot of those guys who were integral, who were really young, that never had to go through like maybe a struggle before winning, like say Rizzo, perhaps. Maybe they lack the experience of going through a struggle to maintain that, and maybe that kind of hurt them in their efforts of repeating or sustaining success, because not having to endure maybe some of the hard times, because it was all fun and games for them, for a lot of the young guys, because they just walked in and were winning right away, like, oh, this is great. They didn't go through a struggle, so maybe they had a hard time when they did struggle. And I thought about, and he's a hardcore Cubs fan, you know what I mean? So this is not somebody who is you know just throwing ideas out there, but he's and I thought, like, maybe there is something to that, like maybe like it was they weren't able to endure some of those down years and still push through because that just wasn't their experience. I don't know. You know what I
Well,
mean? I don't
I
know.
think, mm, like, I think Addison Russell and Kyle Short, some of them peaked at the right moment to win a World Series.
Mm-hmm.
Then their true colors came through.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there was a reason why the Cubs were able to get Addison Russell. Now
Mm-hmm.
we know this
Now
now.
we know.
He's not even in the major leagues.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just because of the incident with his wife, because there's plenty of domestic violence people still in MLB. So it's, I mean, that might be part of the case, but they had so many veterans as pitchers. Like, really, they're only young people who didn't experience losing. Losing was Chris Bryant, I guess you could say Addison Russell, Kyle Schwarber. And then remember, Javi came later in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he came after, like, maybe before September, because most of the time it was Starlin Castro with Addison Russell. And then they brought up Javi Baez and they started playing him. And they got to the playoffs and they lost. So, like, maybe 4 of the players, because, David Ross was the main catcher. I just think,
and he was obviously was not new.
So there were a lot of veterans on that team.
Mm-hmm.
I just think the problem is that that may be also a problem, what your friend said, but I think they just didn't evaluate their main pieces well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Anthony Rizzo was a Jim Hendry guy. The only people that they really, I think Javi Baez was Jim Hendry.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the only main people that they brought in, the best one was Chris Bryant. Mm-hmm. Everybody else was somebody else, or it came from something else.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think they evaluated their talent well.
Yeah, surely.
Yeah.
Surely. And I don't think it's a one thing. I think it's a combination of like talent evaluation.
Yeah.
You mentioned just holding on to certain guys too long. Perhaps what my friend said, perhaps, not understanding how to like work through like some adversity. But like it could have been a little bit of all of those things or some of these things and a lot of that,
Kyle Schwarber probably did not know how to work through not hitting well when he finally didn't hit
when he started slumping.
Because he was one of the World Series heroes. And now he's struggling and he doesn't know how to handle this. So there is probably some truth to that. And I also think they tried to change people into hitters that they weren't. I mean, they went through like 4 hitting coaches or something like that. And it was always
never good. Never good.
Not everyone is going to be Anthony Rizzo where they're trying to hit for power and then they'll choke up. That's just not in some people. I mean, WC from Javi Baez, he is never getting shortchanged on a swing ever. And that's just the way he is. And people try to change him into something else. And now he's doing even worse. Just sometimes you just got to live with how someone is and build around those type of people.
Yeah. Because if they're valuable enough, it's worth, building around them, so to speak,
making sure there's contact hitters around them.
Well, you got Nicky Two Strikes coming in next year.
But then they don't see, and that's fine.
I know, but they don't have any power to go with.
They don't have any, so it'll be just Nicky, and then Nico is going to play only half a year
at best. Well, I didn't mean to end the show with such a down note.
Well, so
shout out to Javi. He stretched the single into a double today.
He's a spark plug.
He is. He is.
That is what Javi is magic on those bases.
He is.
He makes people make super plays. He is magic with those tags, and when he is hot, he is hot. Now, when he's cold, it's cold.
Yeah. I mean, hitters like him that's you gotta take that with it. You know what I mean? Like, well, I mean, like Sammy Sosa when he had his slumps, he was terrible. But like, you take that because when he's on, he's on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's okay.
I'm glad you're doing all right from your hurricane.
Shout out to my people in Long Island. Hope everybody is safe. There was a hurricane in Long Island today.
Wow.
Uh,
Stay safe.
to check in on my mother-in-law's family, who is still
Yeah. Sheesh.
out there on the island.
We
But
can't have a break,
wow,
boy. Remember when we were happy 2020 was over?
yeah. You know, I look, 2020 was rough, but 21 has been a foot in my ass this year. I won't get into it. I mean, I've got some good things going on, so don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
like I'm paying for them, so like
2021 was what it was. This has us do with Plunked, but we were at least able to see people more. But it's
yeah,
still pretty craptacular.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's rough, but
Yeah.
we take the good with the bad and the bad with the
Hey,
good and
Sox are
all of that good
winning.
stuff.
Bears aren't. But
I can't. I'm not ready to wrap my head around Bears right now. Like I'm
okay.
sorry. Oh, I loved that, and I don't want to go into that.
What?
Mitch coming back and running up 30 something points, and he ran up 20 something on the defensive starters.
Right.
And I'm not going to say I like that he did it, but all of the people who still got this onion up their ass about Mitch, which I don't understand
Like
why
he
you
got with
hate this
they
man.
got with their significant other at
Like,
one
why
point.
I don't understand why you hate this man and wanted to see him hurt by the defense and all that. I don't understand. Like, what did he like? He didn't con anybody. He didn't make them draft him number 2.
They drafted
They
him.
took him. He was
Jesse
like,
Sosa
okay.
like, excuse me, sirs, can you leave me there for a second?
Like,
The Bears should
sorry,
have
I don't
never.
want this number 2 pick.
The Bears decided to draft a project and with the number 2 pick instead of waiting. If they really liked him, they could have waited to the second or third round.
They sure as hell didn't have to trade up for him if they really was in love with him.
Right. You don't draft projects with the second pick. But
There was absolutely nothing that would have made anybody think he is a number 2
nope.
pick.
They got faked out by, I forgot, maybe it was the 49ers. Somebody faked them out. But people were really, and then they're still not even trying to give him his props when he played well. Oh, well, Danny Trevathan wasn't there. Most people don't think Danny
Trevathan
anyway. Oh, so you
Danny
just
Trevathan.
another person to miss
That's the key. Danny Trevathan. The guy who played half the season last year like he had a piano on his back. He's the one. That's why Mitch got off. And they're like, oh, well, all of that dinking and dunking. Like, yeah.
That's how you beat them.
Kurt Warner won a Super Bowl dinking and dunking. Like, I mean,
does it matter as long as the person wins?
Moved him chains. And then Mitch got to the red. He got to the red zone and scored. Whatever.
He even got out of that. Remember, he got out of that tackle and converted, and then they scored. Like, I mean, I know it's only preseason, and in this grand scheme of things, it means nothing. It meant a lot to him because
exactly. And I'm not. This is not at all me saying we should. I was trolling. I trolled people who said we should have kept Mitch just a minute, and people actually took me serious and thought I was serious. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is a joke.
Oh my gosh, we know we like who we have in Justin Fields.
Absolutely. It was a joke.
I mean, the facts are the facts. He carved up.
The
first string defense.
He carved your first string defense up.
And people say he's a terrible quarterback. So then what does that say about your defense? If a quote unquote terrible quarterback can carve you up they only went 3 and out one time.
First of all, he's not. He was never and still is not a great quarterback. You know what I mean? A terrible quarterback is the guy who got pulled in favor of Mitch, which was Nick Foles at one point last year, which was Mike Glennon a few years back. Yeah. Those were terrible quarterbacks. You know what I mean? So, and not to even say Nick Foles is a terrible quarterback. He played terribly.
He played terribly.
Mitch
is serviceable enough that you can win with him if you call the right plays.
Can you
And
win a
I think
Super Bowl with him? I'm not saying all of that.
but like if you call the right plays, I mean, you get in the playoffs. They did two out of the 4 years.
Like that's all. Look. We went to the playoffs 2 out of 3 years with him.
Yeah, with
Like
him.
and when he got pulled last year and came back, that's why we got in the playoffs because he
Playoffs.
came
Yeah.
back.
Playoffs. So Mitch is gone. Well, now we can end that chapter. Now everybody needs to concentrate on. There's some issues on that defense, and that special teams coverage is horrendous.
Special teams is garbage. It's awful. There has been issues on this defense. There's been more and more issues every year since the 18 squad.
Yeah.
That includes Khalil Mack being one of them. My God, these people. I'm like, what game are you watching?
This makes my back hurt.
So
Robert Quinn is
Robert Quinn. Just like a mannequin out there. Yeah, like a mannequin in a football helmet.
Jackson can tackle. People are like so excited about the secondary. Who's playing on the other side of Jalen Johnson? Because I'm just never going to throw on Jalen Johnson's side.
Bang. There you go. And then you throw where Eddie Jackson has to make a tackle. You're gold because he can't tackle a damn tackling dummy. Like a tackling dummy, he misses that in practice.
Yes. And he's talking about like the dink and dunk. Well, it worked because the Bears can't. That's why the game plan was that because they know the Bears can't tackle.
Because they know the Bears can't. Like give him. Throw it right down, check down, throw it to him. That man's going to run all the way another 10, 20 or more yards because the Bears can't tackle the guy. Mitch probably told him that. Like, yeah, my guys, my boys can't tackle.
I love
That's why I look so good in practice because they can.
And then they said that at the end of the game, he was one of the last people to leave, and all the teammates came. The Bears, they came to midfield, and they were talking to him, hugging him, and all that.
Well, that was good. You know, the players weren't.
Yeah, and I think they were like, "We're glad you got to show that it was."
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm sorry, I'm not pleased with Andy Dalton, but I know he's not this bad. He can't be this bad.
He's not this terrible.
They're not calling any plays. Like they're not.
They're still not running the ball. Oh, all right. Like we'll pick
time
this.
To go. All right.
Time. Set. I'm a pressure up. I gotta go eat. Sorry.
And go wrap your wrist.
And go wrap my wrist. All right. Well, with that being said, we will continue. Plunked is going to go on a slight vacay next week. We will not be online next week. We're going to take next week off to get some things together. Hopefully, we'll have some more exciting things to talk about with the White Sox. Hopefully, they'll kind of figure some things out, and maybe we'll have some Cubs news.
We will not.
We will be ready for the Bears, and we're just going to keep it moving. So, Kristen, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, everyone. MLB, call us.
Holler at your guala. And signing off for Plunked, the show where we celebrate two teams in one city. Peace.